The Nihon Shoki, sometimes translated as the Chronicles of Japan, is the second oldest book of classical Japanese history. The book is also called the Nihongi. It is more elaborate and detailed than the Kojiki, the oldest, and has proven to be an important tool for historians and archaeologists as it includes the most complete extant historical record of ancient Japan. The Nihon Shoki was finished in 720 under the editorial supervision of Prince Toneri and with the assistance of Ono Yasumaro, dedicated to Empress Genshō. The Nihon Shoki begins with the Japanese creation myth, explaining the origin of the world and the first 7 generations of divine beings, and goes on with a number of myths as does the Kojiki, but continues its account through to events of the 8th century. It is believed to record accurately the latter reigns of Emperor Tenji, Emperor Tenmu and Empress Genshō. The Nihon Shoki focuses on the merits of the virtuous rulers as well as the errors of the bad rulers. It describes episodes from mythological eras and diplomatic contacts with other countries. The Nihon Shoki was written in classical Chinese, as was common for official documents at the time. The Kojiki, on the other hand, is written in a combination of Chinese and phonetic transcription of Japanese. The Nihon Shoki also contains numerous transliteration notes telling the reader how words were pronounced in Japanese. Collectively, the stories in this book and the Kojiki are referred to as the Kiki stories. The tale of Urashimataro is developed from the brief mention in Nihon Shoki that a certain child of Urashima visited Hirazan and saw wonders. The later tale has plainly incorporated elements from the famous anecdote of Luck of the Sea in Luck of the Mountains, found in Nihon Shoki. The later developed Urashima tale contains the Rip Van Winkle motif, so some may consider it an early example of fictional time travel. Chapters. Chapter 01, Kami no Yo no Kami no Maki. Chapter 02, Kami no Yo no Shimono Maki. Chapter 03, Kanyamato Iwabiko no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 04, Kamu nu Nakamimi no Sumeri Amikoto. Shikitsuhiko Tamatemi no Sumeri Amikoto. Oyumato Hiko Sukitomo no Sumeri Amikoto. Maimatsu Hiko Sukitomo no Sumeri Amikoto. Jamato Tarashi Hiko Kuni Oshihito no Sumeri Amikoto. Oyumato Nekoiko Futoni no Sumeri Amikoto. Oyumato Nekoiko Kunikuru no Sumeri Amikoto. Waka Yamato Nekoiko Obibi no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 05, Mimiki Iribiko Iniyo no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 06, Ikumi Iribiko Izachi no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 07, Otarashi Hiko Oshira Wake no Sumeri Amikoto. Waka Tarashi Hiko no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 08, Tarashi Nakatsu Hiko no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 09, Okinaga Tarashaheim no Makoto. Chapter 10, Homuda no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 11, Uzasagi no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 12, Izahaki no Sumeri Amikoto. Mitsuwake no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 13, Osizuma Wakugo no Suku no Sumeri Amikoto. Anaho no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 14, Oatsus no Wakitakeru no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 15, Shiraka no Take Haroku ni Oshiwaka Yamato Neko no Sumeri Amikoto. Woke no Sumeri Amikoto. Oak no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 16, Oatsus no Waka Sasagi no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 17, Odo no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 18, Haroku ni Oshi Taken Ahi no Sumeri Amikoto. Take o Haroku ni Oshi Tate no Sumeri Amikoto. Chapter 19. Amekuni Oshiharaki Haroni wa no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 20. Nu Nakakura no Futo Tamashiki no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 21. Takibana and no Toyoi no Sameri Amikoto. Hatsusbi no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 22. Toyomai Kashiki Ahaim no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 23. Okinaga Tarashi Hiro Nuka no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 24. Aim Toyota Kara Kashi Hitarashi no Haim no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 25. Aim Yorizu Toyoi no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 26. Aim Toyota Kara Kashi Hitarashi no Haim no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 27. Aim Makoto Hirakasuwe no Sameri Amikoto. Chapter 28. Ama no Nu Nakahara Oki no Mohito no Sameri Amikoto. Kami no Maki. Chapter 29. Ama no Nu Nakahara Oki no Mohito no Sameri Amikoto. Shamo no Maki. Chapter 30. Takama no Hara Harono Haim no Sameri Amikoto. Process of compilation. Shoku Nihongi notes that, in the part of May 720, it means up to the time Prince Toneri had been compiling Nihongi on the orders of the emperor. He completed it, submitting 30 volumes of history and 1 volume of genealogy. The volume of genealogy is no longer extant. Contributors. The process of compilation is usually studied by stylistic analysis of each chapter. Although written in classical Chinese, some sections use styles characteristic of Japanese editors, while others seem to be written by native speakers of Chinese. According to recent studies, most of the chapters after No. 14 were contributed by native Chinese, except for chapters 22 and 23. Also, as chapter 13 ends with the phrase, "See details of the incident in the Chronicle of Oastu's Emperor," referring to the assassination of Emperor Ango, it is assumed that this chapter was written after the compilation of subsequent chapters. Some believe chapter 14 was the first to be completed. References. The Nihon Shoki is a synthesis of older documents, specifically on the records that had been continuously kept in the Yamato court since the 6th century. It also includes documents and folklore submitted by clans serving the court. Prior to Nihon Shoki, the word Enoki and Koki compiled by Prince Shotoku and Soga no Umiko, but as they were stored in Soga's residence, they were burned at the time of the Ishii incident. The work's contributors refer to various sources which do not exist today. Among those sources, 3 Bakuya documents are cited mainly for the purpose of recording diplomatic affairs. Records possibly written in Bakuya may have been the basis for the quotations in the Nihon Shoki, but textual criticism shows that scholars fleeing the destruction of the Bakuya to Yamato wrote these histories, and the authors of the Nihon Shoki heavily relied upon those sources. This must be taken into account in relation to statements referring to old historic rivalries between the ancient Korean kingdoms of Silla, Goguryeo, and Bakuya. The use of Bakuya's place names in Nihon Shoki is another piece of evidence that shows the history used Bakuya documents. Some other sources are cited anonymously as Arufumi, in order to keep alternative records for specific incidents. Exaggeration of reign lengths. Most scholars agree that the purported founding date of Japan and the earliest emperors of Japan are legendary or mythical. This does not necessarily imply that the persons referred to did not exist, merely that there is insufficient material available for further verification and study. Dates in the Nihon Shoki before the late 7th century were likely recorded using the Genka calendar system. For those monarchs, and also for the emperors Yin and Nintoku, the lengths of reign are likely to have been exaggerated in order to make the origins of the imperial family families sufficiently ancient to satisfy numerological expectations. It is widely believed that the epoch of 660 BCE was chosen because it is a Shinyu year in the sexagenary cycle, which according to Taoist beliefs was an appropriate year for a revolution to take place. As Taoist theory also groups together 21 sexagenary cycles into one unit of time, it is assumed that the compilers of Nihon Shoki assigned the year 601 as a modern revolution year and consequently recorded 660 BCE, 1260 years prior to that year, as the founding epoch. Keshi Hakadai. For the 8 emperors of Chapter 4, only the years of birth and reign, year of naming as crown prince, names of consorts, and locations of tomb are recorded. They are called the Keshi Hakadai because no legends are associated with them. Some studies support the view that these emperors were invented to push Jimmu's reign further back to the year 660 BCE. Nihon Shoki itself somewhat elevates the 10th emperor Sujin, recording that he was called the Hatsukuni Shirasu emperor.